order. If you would, join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And would you do a roll call, please?
Mayor Time.
Here.
Alderwoman Dobb.
Here.
Alderman Peggy.
Here.
Alderman Donovan. Alderman Bennett.
Here.
Alderman Eidman.
Here.
Alderman Rainey.
Here.
Alderman Steiger.
Here.
Alderman Prince. Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you very much. This time we will look for approval of tonight's agenda.
Move to approve.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, at this time we have a couple personal appearances. I don't believe Mr. Donze's here, but there is the annual report for the municipal band in your packet, if you'd like to look through it. And I'll pause for a second in case anybody has any questions on that right now.
So it's subsidized by the city.
It's a city tax.
It's on, it's a row on the tax. Municipal band.
Oh, Why not a tax?
Mhm.
How many cities use that?
Very few. I don't know that. I don't know any others. There's regions.
We're one of a kind.
And that's, should be going for lots of years. Or what's your idea? Nothing happy with it?
No. Yeah. 10 years long as I've been city attorney.
How long is that? 10 years?
Isn't that 10 years?
It's been here since I've been here.
That's
Not that.
Yeah, that long.
Any questions on the municipal band report? Good there? Okay. We'll move on to our second personal appearance of the night. We have Chip Marzuco with us to present some information on this year's Spring for Down Syndrome benefit. That's to be held on Saturday, June 14th.
Thank you, everyone, for letting me come touch base with everybody. Got a flyer, and this is actually a little overview letter of what we do spend the money on, so you guys can kind of see what we've got going on. It's hard to believe it's been 7 years since I asked for UTVs to be available in St. Genevieve, and close to 17 years since we started this event. All righty. I just didn't know if everybody wanted to wait till they got their paper, but.
I know.
Basically, it's not really changing much at all. I think the biggest thing that's going to be different this year from last year is our event's the second full weekend instead of the second weekend. So it's actually kind of working out good for Kathy and them, because our event and the French Heritage Days isn't going to be hitting on the same weekend. So I don't think there'll be any issues this year for crossing paths, in the wrong places. But basically, it's going to be the same scenario. It's going to be up at the fairgrounds. Same setup as we had last year. I think we might have one more food truck. There's a couple other more activities that's going on up at the fairgrounds, but it shouldn't affect you all at all. I'm assuming that it's okay. Happy that we're not going to have any kind of stickers and stuff again, like. Okay, appreciate that. And then I want to say thank you to Pat too. He's with his new campground and stuff down there. He's going to work with us on that, because the Jerdafet lets us use that one part down there, and it's actually full, and the fairgrounds is full. So we're working together to team up to hopefully help you out some and get the word out there that you got a new campground in town. And I was actually going to ask Eric, if you don't mind, if we do have rollover. Still got the okay? Okay, appreciate that. He lets us park some extra trailers and rigs up there on his ground. Okay. Does anybody have any questions on anything? We do not, I would let you know kind of the route. We don't like letting the route out because like last year, we had a group of 30 that joined in out the northern end of the county. And it really doesn't bother us, but with you guys letting us do what we do with, we put, plastic ties so people know that, hey, they're part of our group. And for our insurance purposes and everything, we just don't want to have them, we need them to sign the waivers and show that they got proof of insurance. So we kind of keep it a hush hush, but it is going somewhere in the St. John County. I know that. It's got to leave St. John and go into the county. So.
What's the number that you're counting on?
Well, 2 years ago, it was 620 something UTVs. Last year was 573 or something on that order. But we did have the rain that came 3 o'clock in the morning. That really kind of put a damper on things. But it worked out tremendously because the My Triumph bikes, if you haven't ever seen anything, our opening ceremonies start off with the My Triumph bikes, and we got a wagon behind it was a John Deere last year, but some type of tractor, and they pull all the special needs in the tractor. And the My Triumph bikes is like a running stroller, and we've got angels that push the special needs in it. We got like a 2-mile run or walk that they go on, and we keep everybody there at the event until they come through, and after they come through, then the ride starts.
So it's almost 600 vehicles. At least there's 2 people per vehicle or 3. I mean, so you're up into 1,500, 2,000 people.
Actually, a lot of them bring 4 people in.
4 people.
Yeah, a lot of them do. And out of those, I think there was 60-something Jeeps. So, the Jeep is growing steadily. I think every year we've always had 100 more UTVs over the last 7, except this past year. But I know that the food trucks ran out of food, and I know that the Anvil and Danny's and all them appreciated it very much, that, because their places was packed with people. But again, let us know if you have any issues, or we'll make sure. And I know, there's a couple new, or is it just 1 or 2 new aldermen that's here? Because I know that what we do is we bring, how there's the St. John map, and it actually shows, it used to be like Sarah's Ice Cream Parlor, their hours, and when the Audubon's hours. Every pamphlet or every group that we give in, they got to get a proof of insurance. Whenever they give us that, we turn around and we give them the device that goes on their UTV, along with the map of the town, the activities throughout town, the phone numbers of all the different facilities. So hopefully they get to spend time in town, because we've got a group of about 8 that you'll probably see down there close to camping by your place, that come in from Illinois every year on Wednesday, and actually camp Wednesday through Sunday, and they help with the event. So it is bringing more and more people from surrounding areas to good old St. John. Yeah.
Think it'd be all paved this year or a little bit of gravel?
I wish we could say all paved, but I'm afraid it's going to be a little bit of, if I could find this one, I need to find this one little avenue to get from this road to this road, and it'd be in heaven, but I can't get that. Nobody will let us get that one little spot. But yeah, we try. I know I was on the Antique Tractor Club had a ride this weekend, and we went on it, and it is terrible out there on gravel right now. So we're definitely trying to keep it all on blacktop. I know we've got some people that's got $50,000, $60,000 in UTVs, and they're blacktop princesses, so they don't like the gravel anyway. So we kind of try to keep it that way.
I'm sure they'd appreciate being coined that too.
Whoops.
Come to the territory.
Any other questions on anything, or? Just to let you know, our basketball this year, we just had, our last game was last night. We got our pizza party next Wednesday. We had close to 45 special needs coming from Festus, Farmington, Perryville, and St. John. Baseball starting this Saturday. And if you guys aren't doing anything from 9:30 to about 10:30, we can always use buddies to come out and participate. And we do have something new that we're starting up this fall. It's going to be pickleball farm, along with the dances and all the other stuff that we have farm. So.
Any questions?
Thank you. I know that's a lot of a lot of work, a big undertaking, so I know the community appreciates it, we appreciate it. So.
Thank you.
I echo that too. It's a wonderful event, and thank you for all that you do. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Yep, it definitely starts the day after the first one's over, day after this is over, that's for sure. But if you got any questions, the numbers are all on here. Leroy's not available to be here tonight, but his number's on here then too, so if you guys got anything, you can get a hold of either one of us. All right,
All right.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you guys, appreciate you letting me speak.
Absolutely. Right. Move along tonight to the city administrator's report.
You got an updated report at your seats. The extra items that I've added to the report, we're not ready to put out the pamphlet flyer, whatever you want to call it. We're going to get ready to mail those out tomorrow. You'll be getting those in your mail shortly. I hope they get there sooner than the water bills get to your mailboxes. But that's going to be part of our whole campaign to get the information out for the website, our cloud permit accessibility, the utility billing, and for Genesis for the emergency techs. So QR codes are included with that, the information so people can look at it and get people signed up. So those should be in your mailboxes next week. New playground equipment was supposed to be put in today. However, the group that's putting it in went to Poplar Bluff this week and found that there was a mess down there from the tornadoes. So they're spending some extra time down there. They'll get to us this week, but you should see new playground equipment early next week. Trying to get here Monday. Put that in at the spot up along the top by Matthews, above the soccer fields. Prop S, $10 million bond issue was closed today, and the money has been deposited into our account. So we are ready to start working on some streets. We've been using that early anyway for the engineering. So we're ready to get going. We've got a couple of ordinances to get agreements going with that. We sent our response to McBride on the latest draft of the agreement for Progress Parkway Development. Sent that to them on Tuesday. We're just waiting for their response. If they come back with some other recommendations or suggestions, we'll just get the committee together, sit down with them, kind of knock that out to where everybody comes to an agreement, and then we'll bring something to the full board for approval. Hope to get that done by next month. And not on here, but we did receive word from the Department of Natural Resources that our sewer system grant to make system improvements, to create a plan for system improvements was approved. It's a $50,000 grant, and we put in $15,000. But that's been approved to work with Cochrane. So we'll start that process with them next week, sit down and go through the whole grant process. And then we have up to 18 months to complete it. I don't think it'll take that long, but it depends on how much time we need to get from Alliance to help with the research part of it in the sewer mains and the manholes, to kind of compile the information and then have Cochrane put it together. But you should see something on that, I figure in about 12 to 15 weeks, we should be done. And then we'll have a plan for water, plan for sewer, plan for streets. I mean, we're getting to where we're following and can budget and do a little bit better job at that. Any questions on anything else that's on the?
Is there any significance to the fact that you're taking off April Fool's Day?
You can interpret that however you want.
Doing cranking around town? And
Well, you know, beware.
Any other questions for Happy? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Right. We'll move along to staff reports. First up tonight, I think we have Assistant Chief Paul. Give the report tonight.
Good evening, everybody. The chief had submitted you guys our report for the month. You guys have any questions about that?
do you think there was anything significant or different from usual on that?
Um,
Trends or?
not unusual. The season's starting to break. Our call volume is increasing. Our guys have been active, doing some more work than earlier in the winter months, so.
Ozzy was busy.
Huh?
Ozzy was busy.
Yeah, that's good. He finally has come back and got back into a groove and started working a little bit more.
Yeah, I was gonna comment on that report as well. That's nice. The stats on Ozzy.
Yeah.
The charts.
Yeah, we enjoy him.
Any other opinions regarding the police department report? All right. Thank you. Then next up tonight, with Alliance, we have Erica Bogenpole. I think she'll present the report tonight.
Good evening, everybody. Corey's on vacation this week. He'll be back next week. So looking at the report, the items of note, you'll see on the first page, the operations by the number table. This is for the month of February. In the report, we reported there were 15 potholes repaired. I'll update and let you know that to date, that number is 585 for this year. And that is on account of that Easy Street patch that we've adopted, and it's allowed us to fill those potholes regardless of weather temperatures and if a plant is open or not. But that being said, the plant is going to fire up next week, and we'll be able to resume the hot mix patching. Moving on then, we have ordered some more of those solenoids on filter number 2 to try and get those valves back operational again. So those have arrived, and we're going to get working on getting those replaced as soon as possible when Corey's back next week. Gearing up for disinfection season, the UV, we are prepared to start disinfection on the 1st. UV season starts April 1st. Metro Ag was in town today removing sludge from the 1 million gallon tank to spread that. We got the taps completed for the new RV park. Happy shared good news on a grant. We do have bad news on another grant that we applied for, and we did not receive that. And that was, it's called the Water Safety and Security Act Project Grant. And that is in relation to a new regulation that says that we need to have hydrant maintenance and valve maintenance established programs in place, and also maps of all of those infrastructures. So since we didn't get the grant, we're gonna have to figure out how to do that without assistance from the state. Let's see, moving on then to streets. Street sweeper has been out and about for the past 2 weeks, just solid out every day. So hopefully you'll have maybe seen that or been happy with that schedule. We had 4 guys that were helping out in Perryville Monday and Tuesday of this week, and my understanding is that Perryville is applying for FEMA reimbursement. Assuming that goes through, then St. Genevieve would be reimbursed for those costs from our staff as well. And then I guess the last item to note is that we have been hitting the GPS really hard. So in fact, over the past couple of weeks, we've got all of downtown GPSed. That kind of goes into the having to have maps of the valves and hydrants. So we've been hitting that really hard, so we'll meet the June deadline to the state of having that complete. I said last item, there was one more thing, which is that the shop is nearly complete, and all the updates and improvements we've been making to that. So the last thing to do is to install the thresholds. We're thinking we're going to get that knocked out here on the next rainy day. And I don't know if Corey had mentioned yet, but we are planning on hosting an open house to invite you all to come and see what the new building looks like. It's really sharp. We haven't been there in a while. It's a huge improvement. So any questions for me?
Okay. Thank you, Eric. This time, we will open up the floor to public comment. Okay. If there's no public comment, then we will move along to tonight's consent agenda.
Move to approve.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And we've got a little bit of old business here. We have a second reading of bill number 4662. This is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement for engineering services with Taylor Engineering LLC for the Crest Lawn Cemetery expansion design.
Move to approve. Second. Jinx.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Pam, would you do a roll call, please?
Alderman Steiger,
Yes.
Alderman Rainey,
Yes.
Alderman Eidman.
Yes.
Alderman Bennett,
Yes.
Alderman Fahey,
Yes.
Alderwoman Dobbs. 6 yes, 0 no's, 2 absent. Bill number 4662 now becomes ordinance 4584.
Thank you very much. On to some new business. We'll have a first reading of bill number 4664. This is an ordinance of the city of St. Genevieve, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement between the city of St. Genevieve and the St. Genevieve Municipal Band.
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I have a first reading of bill number 4665. This is an ordinance approving a budget amendment to the city of St. Genevieve for the fiscal year 2025 budget relating to various revenue and expenditure increases.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next up is a first reading of bill number 4666. This is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a construction inspection services contract with Cochran Engineering for the 9th Street Improvements Project.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next up, we have another first reading. This is for bill number 4667. This is an ordinance of the city of St. Genevieve authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Superior Industrial Coatings LLC, DBA SIC Concrete, for the citywide concrete replacement project in an amount of $837,853.31.
Motion to approve.
Second.
That is a lot.
It doesn't take much concrete to be a lot of concrete.
Can we pause on that for just a second? I read through, and I may have missed, there's a post-construction test, correct? Like,
Core samples and things like that?
Yeah, so that stuff will be done and filed where?
With, we'll get copies from the inspector. So they will, when they deliver the concrete, they'll put it into the right forms and then do the compression testing.
Okay,
And then we'll receive the results.
okay,
But that may be, maybe 2 to 3 weeks after it's actually delivered that we get the compression testing.
okay. And I mean, that's maintained in a file here that'll be in the file room downstairs, or
Either us or Cochran.
it's the standard disposition of those files. They'll age out after a while, I guess, but,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, that's all I have.
Yeah, do believe I had a motion and a second on the floor. So all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And then lastly tonight, first reading of bill number 4668. This is an ordinance of the city of St. Genevieve authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Byrne Bowman Contracting Company for the citywide asphalt replacement project in amount of $3,195,814.99.
Mr. Mayor, I have that same question.
Yes.
Along the lines of the previous about as far as the asphalt goes.
So that's not tested the same as concrete.
Right.
Usually that's tested with temperature. So it's rejected if it shows up cold. So the inspector does that.
Oh, that's the only test. There's no density type.
Not really a compression test.
Okay, okay. Okay,
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any other business to discuss at this time? If not, then we will adjourn and move into work session. Call tonight's work session to order, and I will look for approval of tonight's agenda.
Move to approve.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? First item tonight, we have a discussion regarding enterprise fleet management for some vehicle purchases in relation to the police department.
So Ryan Owens, who's here tonight, talked first with Chief Halleck about acquiring cars from the police department and how they can supply the vehicles. And it's a whole program that he'll explain to the board as to how that works. The state used to have a listing of the vehicles that we could purchase and had just a certain amount of vehicle at a certain price, and you got them from certain places. That's now opened up, and it's become more of a you buy it off a lot kind of setup. So you're really paying manufacturer's suggested retail price. So Enterprise has their own way of doing things, and a way that we think helps us in saving employee time and then setting up a maintenance program. So Ryan, if you want to make your case tonight, you come step up to the podium and talk about how Enterprise would work this program. Everybody's got a copy of the breakout that Ryan had sent me about what the cost would be.
Here's just a stack of mine. Business cards, if you guys want to pass them around. Yeah, thank you. Happy for that introduction. Appreciate it. Yeah, just a real quick and brief background. My name's Ryan Owens. I've been with the Taylor family and Enterprise for coming up on 13 years. Started out washing cars, right? And now I oversee our fleet business for the Midwest. So, yeah, I'm really here to just answer any questions that you guys have, but ultimately to kind of piggyback off of what Happy already alluded to. We've been working to help a lot of clients from the government space with more proactively rotating their vehicles out at a cost benefit to them. So I think Chief Halleck had reached out to me through the network. We do a lot of business with counties and cities, right? So the closest ones that we work with to you guys here is Perry County. So we help Sheriff Klaus with all of his vehicles, and City of Park Hills as well. So they're both clients of ours, and the highs and lows of it is we essentially can just put a strategic plan in place to reduce cost and keep newer vehicles in the fleet that aren't aged out, dying, and having to replace engines, so on and so forth. As a company, Enterprise, we're in 87 countries now, so we buy just over 2 million vehicles a year. So we've refined that process a little bit to extend it to some of our fleet management clients. So we can essentially just go straight to the factory for clients and get the vehicle at what's considered invoice pricing, less all incentives that a government entity is applicable for. That's what we would go and get the vehicle for on behalf of the city. And we can put maintenance and fuel plans in place as well and just help track expenses, and then resell as well. We do everything from getting the vehicles, setting up a line of funding, whether the city wants to pay cash or finance or whatever that looks like, to upfitting the vehicles, right, with all the equipment that goes in them, and rotating them out whenever the city so decides. So
Chief Bennett knows best how you started this process of buying a couple of cars every year and financing it so that we can keep the fleet in good shape. So we've skipped a year, and we're seeing the results of that now. We have one vehicle with a blown engine, and another one that had some electronic issues that we've had to take in and have repaired. So what we're trying to do is set it up to make it a little bit easier in that we can tell Enterprise what vehicles we want. So it's either a Ford Pursuit or a Dodge. We've been doing Dodges because they've been the cheapest. They can do the purchase, the upfitting. They'll use local decal applications. I mean, anybody that we need for them to use. And then if we're going to have maintenance done, they will work with the local shop that we use to maintain the vehicles and keep track of it. So instead of, having to do that in-house, they're willing to oversee that. And then when you're done with them, after you finish that lease payment, you can sell them, we can sell them, we can keep them, hand them down, and hand me down.
Mhm.
So the process ends up being a little more concentrated instead of what we've had to do in the past. And call around, talk to the fleet managers at different dealerships and how to buy the vehicles. But it's still the same. You have to get a window of when you order the vehicles to get them on. So I think we had talked that one window's closed, another window's, one company has the window. So, we're looking at whether this is something that the board wants to do. Currently, we work with First State Community for the lease purchase. In this case, we'd be working with Enterprise for the lease purchase. There's a down payment requirement because of the upfitting. But again, we would be back into that rotation of trying to replace enough vehicles. And if we do it right, we should have 4 vehicles replaced when we do the budget in this upcoming year. I did find out today, though, one caveat issue is that because we borrowed, or we have the general obligation bond that we've issued, we can't borrow any money until 2026. So it'd be early 26 before we could actually do a lease purchase. We've capped out. That's what we can do. So we're kind of hamstrung. We'd hope to do something this summer, but at this point, we're gonna have to wait. But we can plan it for next year, put it in the budget for fiscal year 2026.
Did we used to buy through local car dealerships? Would this be a loss of business for them that Enterprise would be buying at a?
We don't have any local dealers.
We don't have any local dealers.
No. I mean, it's all used dealers at this point, so we don't have anybody. I think at one time.
We bought some from Ford
Yeah.
back in the day. We bought some from Dodge back in the day when they were here. We bought some from Barclays back in the day. But like he said, there's just no new dealerships.
And
There's the factor of not using a local bank to do the financing now. I mean, is that, are the rates comparable or better than what we had?
We haven't pursued that yet because I really wanted to see if the board even wanted to.
Oh, I see.
Well, what would be the downside is you looked at it, we've done it the old way. Sounds pretty good as presented.
For looking at what the amount of time we've got put into it, as we've always had put into it, is staff time. Having it delivered, ready to go, as opposed to having the vehicles delivered, then sit, waiting for the upfitters to get here. I mean, we're talking months down the road, having to coordinate all that, and then get the decals on it. I mean, this, for me, this is a no-brainer for staff and saving a lot of staff time. Having to look over that. And then also watching the maintenance part of it would be even better to keep track of all that.
Are you saying unscheduled maintenance gets reported to Enterprise and they run with it?
Schedule.
All maintenance, scheduled and unscheduled?
Yeah, all maintenance and all fuel spend. And so what we'll do is I'll assign the city a dedicated account manager. And so they'll actually look at the city's spend vehicle by vehicle to see, hey, what is the preventative and non-preventative maintenance spend and how is that tracking so as to avoid catastrophic maintenance, which can really blow budgets, right, and cause significant issues.
And so the impact of budget is sort of unknown to you right now.
In fact, we're pretty much what we have done in the past. Payment. We're used to the payment, the yearly payment to the bank. which roughly is $100,000 to $125,000. That's what this would be. Because we'd be bringing those back in online to do 5-year leases to be the same as what we did.
Current day dollars are pretty close then. And the value adds unquestioned. I mean,
Yeah.
significant.
Is the upfitting done by your staff or do you contract that out?
We typically use a local vendor. Public Safety Upfitters has been the most reliable. We do a lot of business with them. That's who I would recommend using.
That should be used as well.
And I think to your, also Mike, your questions on kind of cost. So I did put an analysis together on the non-police units, and we also looked at the police budget, right? So if we were to acquire 4 fully upfitted police vehicles, right, and deliver them into the next budget year, in year 1, the payment was like $62,000 in total for all 4, as opposed to what probably would be $490,000 if you're paying cash or higher, right? On the non-fleet, on the non-police vehicles, if the city wanted us to help them with those as well, that's really where a lot of the savings can come in, and that's something we can talk about down the road if you guys decide to include those. But right now, they're on the non-police side's on about a 10-year rotation, which is a little long for a city. The cities that we work with are actually able to rotate around 4 or 5 years because their resale's so high and we can purchase them so cheap. And when you rotate them, you get a big return on resale, and your maintenance stays low. You don't have the catastrophic maintenance. And so when we did the analysis, and this was on 13 of the non-police units, but over 10 years, the savings as opposed to what the city is spending today on buying and selling and maintaining and fueling, the savings to move from a 10-year cycle down to a 5-year cycle, so 5 years newer, the 10-year savings is about $30,000 a year in savings, so totaling 264 and change.
And then you're going to maintain a flexibility in the program, meaning if you're contacted by Happy for whatever reason, the board is concerned about revenues not being where we want them to be, or whatever the case may be, you could adjust those intervals and work with the
Totally.
board. And
That's a pretty normal conversation we have. Obviously, like I said, we work with like City of Park Hills and other smaller cities as well. And so from a flexibility standpoint, that's something we will look at every single year, and we'll meet with Happy and say, what does the budget look like? Do we want to add? Do we need to extend out? Should we sell? Right? And that's a moldable number that we can, and we do achieve for, so.
Maybe Alderman Bennett or Officer Pollock, is 15,000 miles a year enough?
And just,
Even
I
with
guess
take
before, and sorry not to interrupt, but just to clarify, so the mileage band that you're looking at, 15,000, the reason we picked that is that's right around the average of what we see for a city on the police side, especially a city like St. Genevieve. That being said, though, we don't have mileage restrictions. So it's not like your typical consumer net lease. It's really just a finance. So there's no mileage restrictions. There's no wear and tear fees. The only reason we look at the mileage in general is just to identify when would likely be the most strategic time to replace it. Most, if not almost all cities are running their police units on a 4 or a 5-year rotation. But we will also track the mileage as it goes, and if there's a vehicle that's doing way more miles or way less, we would just adjust the term if needed.
Okay.
We've got a couple of officers that are driving at home, so I don't know how that would change it.
Yeah, I just did, that explanation, I just didn't know if it was like a typical consumer lease.
No.
So many thousand miles. And
It's expensive.
Yeah, so that's considered a consumer net lease, which is basically like a long-term rental. Yeah. We do rentals, right? That's kind of how Jack started the company, but this form is really just financing. The city has all the ownership equity rights.
You talked a little bit about a fuel plan, fuel, management, what is that? What does that look like?
Yeah, so most of our clients, if they don't have a pump on site, they use what we call, they're called WEX, WEX, Right Express, WEX fuel cards. And so we actually pay the WEX fuel cards are $10 a month per vehicle. We actually pay it on just behalf of the city. So the city doesn't see any added expense for the WEX cards. But the benefit is that every single vehicle or driver, however you guys want to do it, will have a specific PIN code. So the PIN code goes to the card, right? And so then when the driver gets fuel, they put in the PIN code and they put in the mileage. And so all of that fuel spend data and mileage data, because mileage is really important to identify when should the vehicle be replaced. That has to do with the resale value and its useful life and the market. But it will capture the fuel data and the mileage, and it will automate it into our system to where city leadership and management can log in, and they can, both us and them can see, hey, here's all of our vehicles, here's what the spend has been broken down by vehicle on maintenance and on fuel as well. Fuel is actually the biggest expense that typically fleets have. And so finding a way to reduce and monitor and control that is something we look at.
Any other question?
So I think normally how cities, and I don't know how you guys have approached it or would approach it, but normally how cities will work through this is essentially they'll approve our master equity lease agreement, which just says, hey, the city can do business with Enterprise, right? And then they will appoint, the chief of police, so it would be Chief Halleck and Happy and whoever else to then authorize vehicle orders, right? And so the master equity lease is just kind of the cornerstone that says, hey, we can do business together. And then as long as the city is continuing to order vehicles through us, that's as long as the relationship stays. So there's no commitment of term. We're just an avenue to assist in as much or as little as the city would want.
So I think all, what Happy's looking for this evening is if we want to pursue that further, and then bring something back more formal to the board.
Well, hey, do you want us to pursue purchasing vehicles through this cooperative? This also is through the state cooperative purchasing program, so there's no actual agreement, but it would behoove us to, say, yeah, let's do that. We have a couple of trucks we probably need to get this summer for public works, and we could work on that. Because that would be a purchase because we already have that budgeted to pay for in full.
Yeah, we are with the state contract and also with Sourcewell and TIPS and all those entities. So one of the nice perks of that is that typically cities, since we're with those cooperative purchasing agreements, they don't have to put out a formal, the whole bid process and whatnot. It's already, the due diligence has been done. We actually manage quite a few vehicles for the state in Jeff City at least once a month.
So when we bring back saying we're going to purchase these vehicles and here's how we're going to do it, I just don't want a rejection from the board saying, no, we'd rather do it this way. So that's what we're looking for tonight. So you're informed as to why we're even wanting to pursue this. Because again, I think it's a better deal for staff, and it seems to be, the numbers that they can get the vehicles for is going to be the same as a dealer, but they're also giving us incentives. So.
Have you talked to Park Hills or Perry County?
Yep, they like it.
I don't know off the top of my head, what we're currently spending, this is just showing what their proposed, plan would be, but, without being able to compare it, I mean, in theory, it sounds worth pursuing. I just trying to look at this in 5 minutes and try to tell you to go ahead and do it. I'm not ready to do that, but I mean, if we get some more information and study it, I think it's definitely makes sense with the benefits and reducing some of the stuff that you guys have to do. I mean, it makes sense, and including maybe public works.
I mean, the value add is there, and you've got flexibility with who would be our account rep to manage to a budget line item in many different ways. You could get creative with that, and this board would still be able to pass a budget.
So what we're looking at for the police department is to get back on the rotation. This would be, we can work with Enterprise on that rotation. The public works part of it, because there's separate funding mechanisms for those departments, you can't mix them. So we can't replace all the trucks in the public works, and then the savings we get from that, we apply it to the police department vehicles. We've looked at that, and you can't do that. You're mixing your funding. So what we're looking at here mostly is, can we get the police department back on a rotation? Can we find somebody that can help us with that purchase? And in this case, assist us with the maintenance and the upfitting and the decals. I mean, it's just, it makes it a lot easier for staff to be able to do that. So we'll be back on the same rotation we've been doing with 2 vehicles a year. So, okay.
Everybody good with pursuing that?
I mean, yeah, I think there's some conversation, but I mean, I think we could certainly look at the numbers and compare with the time goes. We're a year away from that.
If we get into it, there's some issues, if we can't work them out, we'll bring it back to the board.
Right.
And so, Abby, did you say that there may be a need for some public works trucks this summer that you would want us to help you with as well? Okay, so, yeah, really, I mean, how that would work is, and however you guys would write the deal, right, on your end, but really all we need is just the master equity lease just authorized. And again, that just says, here's how the equity leases work, and it allows us to do business together. Once that's authorized, then you can let me know which vehicles are going to need to be replaced on the public works side, and I can, again, we can go to the factory and build those to the exact spec that you need. Typically, we're able to build just the base model work truck with the normal and necessary add-ons, as opposed to a lot of times when cities go to a local dealer, the dealer might only have the LTZ or whatever package that is another $4,000 in expense that it's really not needed from a work truck. A lot of dealerships don't necessarily stock the work trucks because there's a much lower margin on them, right? Not many people buy them. So if you want to let me know which trucks you would need, then I can build them out, and which, depending on whatever factory you guys are thinking, if it's Ford or GM, I can let you know if the ordering window's open. From the time that you authorize the order, and so, you know, place the order, sign the quote, however you want to refer to it, from the delivery time of the truck, it's probably right now about 4 months. So depending on when you'd want those trucks to land, you'd want to backdate, you know, about 4 months right now on that. And then, of course, if you'd like us to sell their replacements, we have a pretty strong resale team that can do that. We sell the truck, and then all the resale dollars would just go back to the city. So, yeah.
All right.
Hopefully this was helpful for you guys, and if you have any additional questions, I gave my business cards. Feel free to reach out if it's fleet related or rental related or whatever it may be. I'm happy to answer any questions. So,
Thanks for coming down.
yeah, no problem at all.
Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah, you bet.
All right, we'll move on to work session agenda item number 2. This is regarding some speed humps on 5th Street.
So Mr. Browning was at the last meeting, got up for public comments, saying that there's a lot of speeding on 5th Street in the morning for school, trying to come up with some solutions to slow that traffic down. Besides, you know, always having code or having enforcement there. We can only be there so many times during a week and try to catch people. So in looking at what to do to try to control that, you know, have we exhausted everything that we can do without going, you know, to the next level? So contacted a friend of mine in Columbia, Missouri to see what they do for their traffic control, traffic calming type processes. And I put some of that in there. And we've gone through most of it, trying to, you know, do what we can with enforcement and slow people down. So, you know, we've looked at a speed hump, we kind of talked about that as a possibility, which I have a drawing in there as to what they are. Speed humps are not speed bumps. So what you see in the park, what you see in parking lots is not what these are. They are a lot larger and with not as sharp of a hit on the vehicle, damage it. This is just more, you feel it and you'll slow down. It's, that's how you slow folks down, is you're gonna hit that, rise up, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, you know, you're gonna notice it, so you slow down. So the speed hump was one possibility. Found out the price on that's about $3,000 to $5,000. Also thought about digital speed signs. You can put something up on Fifth Street and, you know, make it solar powered, so you don't have to worry about electric. So when people drive up there, you can, you know, it would clock what that speed is. People would see it, and they would slow down. Again, you wouldn't have to worry about enforcement at that point. What I'm also thinking is, if we do this, how many places are gonna want this? How many of these do we want to put in? It's kind of where what I'm thinking of. What do you know feel is the right idea, right path? Mr. Brownie's here to, you know, give you any input as to what he sees, and, you know, if there's any other issues that he can
It
think
also
of.
made it sound like there's need for more than one bump, that people go over one and the speed promptly picks up if there's not another bump coming. They were down to putting it at 250 and 350 feet.
Well, now, and that's what you're trying to do is put it in the center of something. So you got Fifth Street, Market up to Jefferson. So Jefferson has a stop sign. So you're probably just looking at one in between, because that would slow somebody down. And then they wouldn't be able to get, you know, be going uphill, but they wouldn't have that far until they had to stop again. Yeah. So there's two spots that we could put a speed hump in, right in front of Mr. Brownie's house or on the other side of that intersection. Otherwise, you're in the middle of everybody's driveways. So it's not as, there's not a lot of open space to put it. So you got just two locations.
Are they equally effective? Do you get that feeling? A digital radar warning sign that blinks that you're going fast?
It just, everything's got its good points and bad points. The speed sign is, you know, does anybody pay attention to that? Yeah, because it's a digital sign, so it's a little bit more effective, but, the speed hump is permanent, doesn't cost anything more after you put it in. You have to use, you know, you have striping, you have signage that you have to put up, so it's not just putting in the asphalt.
Does that affect snow plows? Is it?
So that's why they do this, the size that they do, because it actually, the snow plows can crest it and still plow the snow without any issues. You're not telling you.
At the risk of being extreme, could we look at an alternative traffic flow ordinance as far as no through traffic or from this time to this time and just eliminate through traffic? Like local traffic only, or something to that effect?
We'd have to have enforcement at that point. So do we want to dedicate the police department again to have somebody down there to start writing tickets? Which would be the same as enforcing the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit.
That's a big bus route too. Isn't it a big bus route in the mornings and afternoons?
I don't think buses go.
Yeah, they do.
I thought they did.
Yeah, there's a couple that do. I was always at the four-way. There was always one
Yeah.
making a left.
I think when they come down Market,
Well,
they
St.
turn,
Mary's.
don't the buses turn there on Fifth? Don't the buses turn there on Fifth and go up along? Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, initially you could do traffic control devices. You could do cones or barricades or something to make it known. I mean, once it's common knowledge, then theoretically it would.
So what you're trying to do is, you know, put them where they go down to 4th Street and back up, or turn
come
on
down
9th Street or 8th Street and go those routes.
Do we have objective data more than right now one citizen's observation? Do we have?
No, we have.
Because everybody is going to be asking for this,
Yeah.
and we will have, if one person says we need a speed bump on my street, and we agree to that without data, where does it stop?
Yeah, I mean, they did 50 on my street, they raised. Patrick on that.
So we don't have the equipment, we can borrow it from the Regional Planning Commission. We can put. I think
Traffic counters now?
they got the counters, I think the counters also clock speed, I'm gonna check with them. So they got new
I think
digital.
we should at least require
I'd be
that.
curious to know, yeah, how much traffic and what they are, and how fast they are traveling. I mean,
Doesn't the county have a speed
Yeah,
thing?
but it's,
Yeah, but that doesn't track what this does, that we do put.
it will do some tracking. It will give you statistics as far as how many people are speeding and what times and everything like that. But it's already a narrow street, and to be able to park that somewhere would have to, I mean, it's possible.
Yeah.
Jason loves putting that out.
People
Oh, he's already going.
Mr. Bryan would probably let us use his yard to set it up.
You've got a fenced in yard, I don't know if you want to get it in your fenced in yard.
And you need to have a whole front yard or that way I don't have to mow
I mean, you could, your driveway faces that way.
They wouldn't get the speed that he's
He wouldn't get the
talking
speed
about.
yet.
I'll put a different driveway, just do something.
Let's see if we can get Regis Semo.
I think the data would be interesting.
Yeah. Because it is gonna open up a can.
I would hate to route any more traffic down Fourth Street at that time in the morning. You know,
If only we had another arterial, roadway to get out of that part of town into.
like out 61 somewhere.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Good idea. Okay, so we'll check with RPC, get their counter, see what else they can, the kind of data they can get us.
We'll bet most of that traffic is coming down Market Street because they're coming in north or southbound 61, like coming in from Dimsdale.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And they're probably having to go all the way around to get into that part of town because there's no other routes really to get in that way.
Yeah.
So you could really reduce a lot of this traffic on Fifth Street, people that are running late and they're speeding up past Bob's house. We just had a different route to get those people to school in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I assume we'll be able to get that up and running while school's still in session this year, so we can get some good data.
Should be able to do it 2 months in.
Okay.
Unless they've got it loaned out to somebody,
Okay.
it's always a possibility.
Okay. Everybody okay with that course of action? Get some data and then see the best approach from there? Okay. All right. Move on to work session agenda item number 3, and this is regarding the annexation plan.
So part of our comprehensive plan was it has an annexation plan in it. The board had talked about and created a committee to look at this further. So the committee got together, and David's been doing most of the work on this and putting the plan together. So that there is an adopted policy for this board to accept and then move forward with it. So this is just the beginning, but it lays out where we're thinking, what the committee has come together to talk about, and then also went to the committee that David had put together for the comprehensive plan. So you've got other citizen input on this as to whether we're focused on the right areas or do we need to focus on different areas. So this is the finished concept of what that group has put together to bring to the board. So you can focus on 0 to 3 years, and then you've got 3 to 5 years, and then 5 years plus. But after adopting this, then you're looking at needing to create a plan of intent and do some other things depending upon how you want to pursue annexation. It tells you how annexation takes place, but the board has to make some ultimate decisions on what they want to pursue if there is not voluntary annexation by those property owners. David, anything else I'm missing, need to add?
I think, adoption of this plan is recommended by those 2 committees that Patty referred to. And then if we do that and this board agrees to go forward, we'll go to those folks in those areas, talk to them about voluntary annexation. And then take a next step from there, because you have to adopt a resolution to do involuntary and then the plan of intent. So you're not saying tonight, we want to annex X, Y, Z, you're saying let's move forward in this process.
Yeah, so what we would do is bring this back as an official policy for the board to adopt as a resolution. This would be what we're going to pursue. We publish it, it's on the website. This is what we're planning on over the next few years.
So that committee's work would go on throughout, it would be it wouldn't end. Because you'll want to discuss especially involuntary annexations in some detail within that committee. So
We'd hope they'd all be voluntary.
we would hope.
So, and we've listed the reasons why we want to do this: economic growth, expand the jurisdiction so you have some say as to what gets developed in these properties. So it's just good plan development over some vacant land, provide public water and sewer access where needed. It's not just that we're trying to expand the boundaries just because. There are reasons and logical reasons to do that.
Stormwater management, traffic management. I mean,
Construction and code enforcement.
I mean, right now, you can build a toxic waste dump just right outside city limits and we've got no control of it, so. There was, I forget his name, that did the water and sewer rate study, gentleman that was here.
Carl Brown.
What was it?
Carl Brown.
Yeah. He talked a little bit.
Oh, surprise.
Yeah. And I'll try to do it faster than his 99-page report, but he talked a little bit about how he set some of those rate structures set up, and one of them was the intended people to start, the new residents to start paying towards those services compared to people that had already been here before the water and the sewer plant expanded. And I want to try to get his contact info because it was pretty interesting, but I didn't want to get too deep into it with him the other night because we were already pretty well over time with him. But it was interesting his way he has been studying that and about the way that, and this was even before the discussion of annexation, you know, but new users and new services that were offered.
I will get you his email and.
I think you should call him.
I'm going to, but I'm going to set aside some time so that he can educate. Because that, I mean, he will. I mean, 20 plus years, 30 plus years, whatever he's doing. So
He's a wealth of knowledge.
yeah, he would.
Do you have any changes?
Any thoughts on annexation plan, and if you've had a chance to review it? There was a lot of work that went into that, and thanks to David Bova, who spearheaded a lot of the research and verbiage in it, and then also identifying the areas and our timelines for those areas. So
Our goal is that the comprehensive plan doesn't just sit on a shelf collecting dust, that we're putting it to use and that we're smartly growing the city in the right direction in accordance with our comprehensive plan. And this is one step of that.
And this means a lot of goals that were established in the comprehensive plan. So that's from public input, board's input, planning and zoning, select committee that was in charge of that.
We haven't identified any shortage of resources. Like, let's say we do get into an involuntary annexation, which we know we won't, but I mean, we're prepared to, you know, not just hit the first bump and stop, right? We're going to be tooled up to see that through.
I think we've got a pretty good handle on the process now. I think there was a lot of ambiguity about how that actually works. So how do you get from A to Z? You know, and I think we've figured that out now.
Mr. Bishop would represent us then if that was required, or do we need another resource?
Well, I know Mark would do it, but really it's not so much a legal battle as it is I mean, it would be eventually, if it came to it, it would be an election is what it would be. It would be a voter. It would go to a vote of the people within the defined area, and then to
Which could be contested, though, is I guess what we're getting at. So,
yeah, that's their right, their prerogative. So. But I think Mark's looked through I think Happy mentioned that he was looking to see what kind of precedent there was recently.
Okay, he's been consulted then. so-
Correct,
Yeah.
to determine if there's anything recently from our surrounding counties, cities, that we could draw from to determine how that process went. But I think we got a pretty good handle on it now. I think that was always a little bit of the hangup was there was an unknown there. Is what does happen when we get to that point? And it does have to be involuntary. I think we've got a good handle. Do you need a voice vote or you just need a consensus on this?
Consensus, so we can bring it back for adoption.
More or less okay with that? Anybody have any concerns? It's okay. Wonderful. And then last up tonight on our work session agenda is a discussion regarding the public works, consideration to potentially bring that back in-house, and some estimates on what that would look like.
Well, Alderman Steiger has asked for us to look into what it would take to bring Public Works back into, or back under the city umbrella, what that cost would be. So these are rough numbers. I'm not comparing these to what currently those that work for Alliance make. This is based on our salary survey and plugging in what I feel that their employees have in knowledge and years of service. And that's what you see throughout this is what that would cost based on our salary study. And then all the extra costs that go along with it. It doesn't include any overtime, which we would have seen this year because of the snow and ice. And then the overtime that you have for events and festivals when you have to go out and put up barricades and take care of things, or other disasters, emergencies that people get called out on. Salary only, but based on what our estimates are, at this point, with the amount of people that Alliance has and the amount of people that we would, again, match that, we're at about $900,157. Alliance costs us $1.5 million. There is part of that is also, they make purchases that we don't make, that's not included in our budget, so you're probably at 50,000 of that at least, that we don't have to do. And again, it's the training. We don't pay for uniforms. We don't pay for the safety training. We don't pay for workers' compensation. I mean, there's other things that do get included in this that we don't have included in this sheet. But I think it's to get a base idea of, do you even want to pursue that? Is that because there was a big push to get Alliance in for all 4 departments. And now if we're looking at pulling back from that, what's that going to cost us? And I think the chief concern was because of water sewer rates, is the cost for Alliance too much for what we're looking at doing with our rate increases.
You don't think this includes workers' comp, but
I've got the numbers in there, but I'm not sure. Because we've seen increases, I think we're gonna see a decrease, so this should be.
some losses are falling off or something, or what?
Yep. Our numbers are coming down.
I think the other unknown to you in this is that, let's say that happened. Your effort to staff is not gonna be immediately realized. So there's gonna be a challenge right from jump to get the staff in place to man that operation. So do you engage an HR firm? Do you you're talking about hiring a lot of people all at once. So
That's the one thing that you and I have discussed about this option, was that it does become a burden city at that. So there's time and money spent in that.
I think our friend Mr. Brown, 2 weeks ago, pointed out that Alliance also has resources and knowledge and has done these things 1,000 times where we would be trying to figure it out on our own.
You would hope to be able to hire somebody that is qualified. You have to hire them qualified with whatever certificates for the water plant and sewer plants. But yeah, can you find that person? Because there aren't as many available out in the marketplace. And then do you end up paying more because of the lack of choices? So, yeah. Yeah.
Was the request to look at the public works versus the entire thing, or, I mean, I know, we were here before Alliance took over and the state that our water system was in when they got here was deplorable, and they've done a fantastic job with that. I mean, I didn't know if there was, I wasn't at the last meeting, so I don't know what the request was specifically, but I mean, is it looking at taking back over public works and street department thing, or is this proposal for, this proposal is obviously for the whole kit and caboodle, is that?
Right.
Is that what was requested?
Well, we'd just done sewer, not sewer water. We'd just done street and parks. But we were talking about sewer and water because of the rate increase that we looked at. So my feeling was, if you're gonna do one, if you're gonna do, let's say, water sewer, you're probably gonna wanna jump into the other two as well. Because if, you might as well just bring it back under the whole umbrella to oversee it. I mean, I wasn't given, exact directions, but I felt that it needed to be looked at as holistically and look at a total number as opposed to just trying to pigeonhole the departments. What you can do, we can break that down into, so kind of divide it up into departments as well.
Well, I think we all agree that they do an excellent job with the water. So we weren't even looking into really touching that, were we? I think it was just the streets and the parks is what we were really looking at. Am I correct, Joe?
No, I think, it's a combination. I didn't have any numbers to go off on, so.
Yeah.
This is all good information. I didn't see this on, this is the first time I've got to see it tonight. I didn't see this, a couple days ago when I pulled up the agenda, so I'm lacking there, but, just seeing these rough numbers are good information. I don't know exactly what it is. I just know that, our contract has went up every year and our water and sewer rates have went up every year. So are we doing our due diligence to find out is there a better way to spend our money? And it's very generic, so I don't.
And like I said, I'm not questioning, I'm just seeing
Yeah.
what the request was. So.
We'll have Carl call you and go through his presentation.
So, I mean, that's it. Now you have the information in hand. If you got any other questions, you got any other things you want me to pursue on that, I can.
No, this is good. This is great. I hope you didn't have to spend too much on this, but this is very helpful.
I agree, Happy. Thank you.
Good. So that's, Sue Schweiss helped out and Pam, so not one person.
I meant to mention at the last meeting, Pam seemed to do a fantastic job with that, and I don't think we caught it. I mean, every year that I've been here, we've had a staff. Because of the staff that we have. If they do it for that.
Sue does an excellent job.
And Carl Brown said the same thing at the last meeting too, that dealing with us was easy, far easier than other municipalities.
That's because he would send us an email and Sue would have the calculations, the numbers he needed back to him by half a day at most.
And it was the information he asked for. I think he specifically is like, normally people think they're gonna give me the information that they think they need to provide, but not the information I asked for.
Right.
So.
Yep. Yeah. High quality.
Okay.
Okay, that's it.
We'll conclude our agenda items. Did you want to discuss, Alderman Fahey, did you want to discuss that real quick?
Yeah, I did. I was just thinking, most organizations have a way of recognizing people who've made significant contributions, if it's the Rotary or the Elks Club or something like that. But as a city, I don't think we do identify citizens who have made an extra effort to make this a better town. And I talked with some people as well, and have proposed having a City of St. Genevieve Mayoral Merit Award, which would be presented to somebody nominated by aldermen, maybe with a group of aldermen to review it, presented by the mayor in front of the aldermen here on TV. Maybe Mark takes a picture for the newspaper, and that for no cost, we'd be able to really give somebody a slap on the back and thank them for their efforts, and be volunteerism or development or anything that's been a significant contribution.
Thoughts?
I like that.
Yeah.
Do we think it's best to form a committee? Do we think it's best to?
I think we should have 3 or 4 people that also, wait a minute, you're giving it to all your friends.
No.
Of course, we understand that's going to happen, but that it would be paired up amongst a bunch of people, and so it'd be a nominating committee.
I mean, could it be as simple as putting an Outlook reminder on a calendar, and then we can dump that on a work session agenda item when that comes up? Or, and then the entire board could discuss, or?
I mean, the way it's worded, ultimately, Mayor, you're the one that's gonna, be the sole.
Sure. But I'd like to get input from all facets, right? I think it's important to.
I think if you have somebody nominate somebody and you think it's worthy, I think it's a done deal. I don't think we need too much discussion on it.
The other question would be, how often do we want to do this? Is it like a biannual thing? Is it a quarterly thing? Is it?
Weekly? The longer the.
We probably do have a backlog of people
I
that we
would think
should
a month thing for the first year. What do we lose by telling people, if we gave out 10 in a year or something like that? Right? I mean, I came up with 10 people right away.
Yeah.
Probably your friends.
Anybody you don't like on that?
Since we will probably have a little turnover on the board, maybe we wait to add a committee member until the new board is sworn in. Does that sound fair? And then maybe we, huh? All of your input matters. And maybe we give the first one out in April or May?
Yeah.
Does that sound fair?
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
On the
Any,
next meeting, we will swear in the new.
It depends on if we get the certified,
Election's on Tuesday.
but we have to get certified. No,
if we get it turned around, yeah, I guess that would be. Cool way.
that's up to Sue. Well,
Possibly, possibly it could be done that on the 10th.
so we'll put it on the agenda when we publish it Monday, but it may be pushed off to the next meeting.
I'm making a deal, so let's do everything we do here.
In fairness, it should be a lower turnout, so I would think it wouldn't take too long to certify.
I agree.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay, with that, we will adjourn.